Transitioning now to football, class of 2012. We've already had a few commitments this summer. Zach Terrell from Homestead going to Western Michigan, and James Kanapke, another quarterback, going to Bowling Green. Do you see these as good fits for these programs? Let's start with Zach first.
Well, I think Zach Terrell's a good fit for any program. I mean, I love Zach Terrell. I love James Kanapke's game too, but Zach Terrell, he can run the ball, he can throw the ball, he's very elusive. Every time I watched him, it was just like, what's he going to do next? It was such an exciting thing to watch. But yeah, I think Western Michigan traditionally is a very strong program. It's not far from home. He's going to go there, and he's not going to be asked to be a savior right away, but he does fit that pro-style offense. So I think that's a great fit for Zach Terrell. You know, I cover Ball State. I would have liked to have seen some of these guys end up at Ball State, but Ball State is really set at quarterback for the next 3 years. They started a true freshman in Keith Winning last year, played very, very well. So I think what some of these kids look at is, you know, I'm not going to get to play for a long, long time if I go to Ball State. So that's why they're looking at other MAC schools like Bowling Green and Western Michigan.
Yeah, and for James, Bowling Green has taken, Adrian Spencer, who's a starting cornerback for them, and will be a senior, has had a very good career. Yeah. So they're a little bit familiar. You'll see Matt Lindsay wearing the Bowling Green hat over there. Yep. That doesn't hurt. Talk about what he's going to bring and how he would fit into an offense, because he's got that height that you always look for in a strong arm.
He's got the height and the strong arm, which is what he mentioned that they really, really liked, because they throw the heck out of the ball there. They throw a ton in comparison to running the ball. So they want James Kanapke to stand back in the pocket, make good decisions, and just air that ball out and hit the receivers. And so that's what they're looking for him to do, whereas Zach Terrell's a little bit more mobile and can make plays with his feet as well as his arm. But James is your traditional, stereotypical drop back and just be a gunslinger quarterback. And I think it's a great fit for him. Very close to home, so his family and friends can go watch him play.
Talking about other seniors, when you go to the running back position, Steven Espinoza has been a little bit of everything. A slot receiver, he can do a little bit of everything. We saw him do it at Homestead at Dwenger. Where do you see him ending up? And to Vaughn Hearse, almost 3,000 yards last year. I know Northern Illinois was interested at one point. Where do you see him ending up? Both of the guys are a little bit small, but compact and very strong.
Well, football is an interesting sport in comparison to basketball, because basketball players tend to make their decisions so early and lean towards school so early, and offers are made so early. Football is really different. I mean, it'll be 2 weeks before the signing date, and a kid will still have 6 choices to pick from. So it's a little too early to tell. It's really narrowing down where some of these kids, like Vaughn Hearse, has interest being shown from programs like Purdue and Nebraska all the way down to Ball State and other Mid-American schools. And Espinoza is another name you mentioned. He's got interest being shown from a wide gamut of programs. Espinoza, I think, would make a great fit at St. Francis or some place like that level of program, or maybe a Division II program like University of Indianapolis or St. Joe over in Rensselaer. But to Vaughn Hearse, you can't ignore those numbers. And I know I've read on Nebraska message boards that they're really excited about Nebraska showing interest in somebody who gains 3,000 yards.
Yeah, certainly. They love to run the football. They do in Lincoln. And
just a little bit.
Big Ten pounding football. They're going to be a great fit and interesting to watch here as they get into the Big Ten. As well as Robbie Boots is one senior I just want to touch on, big receiver from Angola. I know he's mentioned to me that he really likes Ball State, but kind of trying to figure out exactly where a guy like Robbie fits.
Well, it's funny. Northeastern Indiana turns out a lot of great running backs, but the receivers tend to get pushed into the shadows sometimes. But we do crank out a lot of good receivers as well. As far as Ball State goes, there's excitement in Muncie. Pete Lembo, once you meet him, you are hooked onto this guy that you believe in him. And so I can understand why he would lean towards Ball State or even show interest in Ball State, because that program is at the bottom right now, but it's very similar to Bowling Green. They had a bad year too. But James Kanapke wants to be the guy that contributes to the rebuilding of that program. And same thing with all the guys that are showing interest to Ball State. They want to be at the ground level of rebuilding, reestablishing the greatness that that program has achieved in the past.
Final guy I want to talk about, because football recruiting, as you mentioned, is so spread out and goes down to the wire. The one underclassman that is getting a ton of attention is Jaylon Smith, Roderick's little brother. Picked up an offer from Ohio State, picked up an offer from Mississippi State, has an offer from Purdue. I mean, this is a guy if you read all the message boards and read all the websites, he's considered one of the top recruits in the Midwest. He's 6'3", he's got Rod's body, and also runs well at about 220.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you've seen him, you understand why he's got a lot of interest. The guy, he may be 16 or 17, he looks like a man now. And believe me, Ohio State is not doing Rod Smith a favor by offering his little brother a scholarship out of the kindness of their heart. When they offer you a scholarship, it's because you can play, and Jaylon Smith can play. Now, whether he plays offense or defense, in football they move you around a lot, so that remains to be seen. But the guy, I really think he made a lot of progress on the basketball floor last year athletically. He moved better, had better hands, and you could just see him growing into his body last year on the basketball floor. And that's carried over into the football offseason. He's going to be a monster on the football field this year, and he's going to be a great player for some program wherever he ends up. But obviously, when SEC schools and Big Ten schools are already offering you scholarships, you are a big-time player.
I would not put it past Jaylon Smith if he was the best player in the area in high school football this coming season as a junior.
Well, that's saying a lot because there's so much talent out there, but you're right. He has as good a chance of being the player of the year as anybody.
All right, should be a very interesting season. We'll keep you up to date here on Wayne.com and on Wayne TV throughout the season. If you don't follow Tom Davis on Twitter, you should, because it's got the best local coverage, especially when it comes to recruiting. Nobody knows more than this guy. Tom, we appreciate your time.
No problem. Had a great time.
All right, thanks for logging on to Wayne.com.